Hey, here we go. Hey, there's Lisa Kay. Hello, Lisa. Yoo-hoo. Good to see you here. Just waiting for Robert to join on. We're going to have a great day here. Hey, there we go. And there's the Reverend Sam. Welcome, Reverend Sam. We're going to have a great day today. We're going to be talking about happiness and how focus and happiness work together. What does our focus have to do with it? Yoo-hoo! And as soon as Robert joins us here, we'll get things kicked off. But it's good to see all you folks here. And we'll be having a good time. You can feel free to jump on anytime you like. If you want to add something to the conversation or you got a story that's relevant. There's Patrick Howell. I know a Pat Howell. Is that the one I know? Thank you very much, Lisa. Hey, there you are. Good to see you, buddy.
I have been on for the longest time, and I thought I was communicating that. And I'm actually the host here. I really am, and I was on for the last couple of minutes, everybody. So here I'd like to introduce Stephen L. Whiteley. Also, the people in the chat or in the audience, you can ask us questions at any time, give us any kind of feedback that you would like and what you want to hear. Also, you can jump on into one of the squares on here inside of Blab and have a conversation with us. Anytime, just actually click on one of those squares to do that. And anything else that you guys feel like you can, please put it in the chat. Let us know. Let us know how we can serve you better. Because Stephen L. Whiteley has been an airline, not an airline, he's a fighter jet pilot.
Yeah, it's a little different.
It's a little different. He would have hauled passengers around, but he didn't. He hauled bombs around.
Yeah.
So we're all ready to be, listen to this man, because this man has a very wealth of understanding what it takes to be happy, because he's gone through the process of elimination of all the bad, in especially in his life. So I welcome you, Stephen.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, Robert. There's nothing I love better than helping people to let go of their troubles, connect with meaningful living, and live happily ever after. Because the opposite is the life of stress, disease, self-questioning, self-doubt, non-achievement, and no fun.
So you could say you're having more fun in your life now?
Absolutely. I'm having fun every day. Hey, there's Patrick Howell asking me, did we go through a certificate in positive psychology today together? No, we didn't. So it must be a different Patrick Howell. There's the Reverend Sam.
Hi, guys.
How are you,
Howell
Reverend?
that I was thinking of was a fighter pilot with me.
Really?
Hey, Reverend Sam, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. I just think seeing you guys laugh. Like, life should be fun and enjoyable. It shouldn't be all this depressing stuff. We should just be alive. We're alive, so let's have fun.
I'm fully in agreement. Laughing is living, and if you ain't laughing, you ain't living.
Well, thank you, Reverend. What denomination are you?
I'm non-denominational. I basically teach love. That's all I teach is once.
Awesome!
All there is love.
Teaching love is teaching happiness. I think love and happiness are twins.
They are. Because I constantly was dwelling about how bad life was And I suffered a lot. I had bipolar. I had multiple sclerosis. I had all these issues. I don't have them anymore. No
Yes.
no cane, no nothing.
Yoo-hoo! So you are loving you.
Yes.
To me, that is the core of happiness, loving ourselves.
Yes.
I love to teach that as well. So what's your top tip for how to love yourself?
Don't believe any negative chatter in your mind that you're not good enough or that you're not worthy.
Nice. Nice. I like that. Because we all are good enough. Eh? We're more than good enough. We always were. We always will be. And there's nothing that stops us except for us.
Right. We just get in the way.
Is this your first time?
And with this group, no, but I've been on Blab before. I do my own show on Blab every so often. It's called The Untethered Mind.
The unfettered mind. Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Peace of mind is a wonderful thing to live with, eh?
Yeah, it is. There's no worry. There's no stress here. It's just fun.
Exactly. You know, it's I will do, I won't do. This is important. I'm going to get her done. And it's productivity, it's connection, it's health, it's everything we want.
Absolutely.
When you love yourself, your world is loving you. Yes. This is it.
I don't know what I'm getting a flashback here, like SNL, the Wild and Crazy Guys. All they would do is just laugh. That's what it seems
yeah, that's right. I forgot about
what
that.
part of the world do you live in, Robert?
Hey, look at that. Look at the serendipity. We're all at 262 hands. Exactly.
Wow. Amazing.
Whoever did that, you're a genius. You know what? If you're into numerology, you'll know that adds up to 1. Because 6 and 2 is 8, and 2 is 10, and 1 and 0 makes 1. And you know what 1 is? In numerology, 1 is a great new beginning. It's time to shift old ideas, shift old habits, and start anew.
All we have is this moment. Let's laugh. Let's have fun.
Yeah, exactly. Let's focus on fun and laughter.
We could just say that, and that would be simple.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly what we came to talk about today, right? Is focus. So where we focus on is where our thoughts go, which is where our emotions go. So are we focused on the not enoughness around us, or are we focused on the incredible abundance that's everywhere?
Right.
We do have incredible abundance.
And the thing with emotions are nothing but felt thoughts.
Yeah, well said. And emotions are what drive action and inaction.
Right.
Action and inaction and
Yes.
inaction.
Yes,
Either way.
either one is an action, and either one creates results. And action creates good results normally, not always, but normally. And inaction creates bad results normally, not always, but normally. There are exceptions on both sides.
What helps keep us focused?
So what we want to focus on is good.
Yeah.
Always ask yourself, what is the good in this? What's great about this when something bad happens? Because there's always good and bad in everything. So it's a question of where you're focused on, eh? You can find the good or you can find the bad. There is a world of difference between where you look.
Now, here's a question. What makes it good or bad? It's simply that thought that we have. Is it true that thought that we have? What's good for you is bad for another. So it's all these just thoughts. It's nonsense.
Very good one. Good one.
Someone says here, not true.
Right.
Okay, oh, that's Alerts Nick. Okay, give us more. Something could be 100% good. Yes, in your opinion, but not in the opinion of the person standing beside you. That's what I'm talking about. You can find all good. You can find all bad. But inherently, it's all about where we start from. Does that make more sense there, Alerts Nick? And Alerts Nick, is that kind of like a beatnik, or is that? All right. So okay, I'm only talking about my opinion, obviously. Yeah, exactly. There is only diversity, right? Everybody has a different opinion. Everybody is different in some way. So there we go. It is no beatnik. And I didn't mean to imply you were either. Yes. Very good. Yeah. So when we choose on where we want to look, we can either click happy or we can frown sad.
Just that simple.
Yeah. What I'm smoking, Nick, is I am smoking life. I'm smoking living out loud. I love it.
Wasn't always like that.
No, it wasn't. Steven? There was a time when I was sad and down, and I didn't like it. And that's what happened. That's how I got this happy, actually, is that I was born a happy person, and I had my troubles and my good times like everybody does, mostly good times. But I got to a point back around the turn of the millennium where I was just too busy at work, too busy at home, fighting at work, fighting at home, fighting inside myself. And one day, after yet another fight at home, back in 2001, I was walking to work, and this thing is going round and round in my head, no answer in sight. And I have this big epiphany of the blindingly obvious. I'm feeling badly again. That's not me. I don't normally do that. So that's it. I'm getting happy again, no matter what. And most people, when they get to the end of their rope like that, they change their environment. New people, new place, new work. But I decided to change me instead. And on that road, I came to discover what I believe are all the secrets of happiness, because I have ended unhappiness for good with the same family that I lost my happiness. So now it's all working.
That took only about a month, right?
No, that wasn't about a month. That was a lot closer to a decade.
Now, does anybody? Do we all have to go?
No, you don't have to go through a decade at all. It just depends on how good you are at communicating, how egotistical the people are you're living with, and how influential you can learn to be. So I'm way more influential now than I was back then. I used to think that you could just talk to people and convince them. And in fact, in that environment, exactly the opposite happened. So they decided to fight me on happiness. But they didn't like where they got to. And I love where I got to. So here we go. We can base the influence through the example that makes all the difference. Is that your experience, Reverend?
No, from my experience, I found happiness pretty much in an instant. I just realized that I wasn't my thoughts. They were lying. So I wrote a book called I Don't Dwell.
Nice. That's really good. I like that. My thoughts are not me.
Right.
I love that.
Oh, that's a really good one, Reverend, because your thoughts are not you.
No, they're not.
That's exactly right, because you can't own yourself. If you own it, it's different than you are. So if they're my thoughts, they're not me.
That's profound.
Not.
Yeah, another profound one is I have thoughts, but I am not my thoughts.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I have this body, but I'm not this body. I'm the one who sees through the eyes.
You're broken up there a bit, Reverend. Try again.
What it is also that I see is that I'm not this body either. I'm the one who sees through the eyes. I'm just the awareness.
So I've been through this as well. I have a slightly different take on it, but I see exactly where you're coming from. Because if it's my body, it's again not me. But what I see is that on this plane of existence, it's all me. All of it. I don't have ownership. I am it. And this is okay for now, but it's not the total end state of what me is. Like a slightly different way of looking at it, but not that different.
Not much different.
Yoo-hoo! Da, 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 da. Hey.
Do you have a brick and mortar, or do you have a business?
Are you talking to? I guess you're talking to me, Robert.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a brick and mortar place. I decided I built myself a cave, so I got rid of my cave, and now I just travel in the world. I just want to become a full-time nomad as my ultimate goal. Would just travel around, just talk to people, let them see that they're not their thoughts, and people will heal that way when they stop that ownership. That I am bipolar, I am multiple sclerosis, I am psoriasis, all these ailments that I had that I no longer have. And the doctors can't explain it, that I don't have that anymore. There's no more medicine, there's no cane, there's no nothing.
I'm also pain-free. It's lovely.
Yeah.
I love living this way.
Wow, that is really awesome, Reverend.
Nicely done. So nicely done. Do you have a book, or do you have a place where you talk every week, or a congregation?
Well, I talk wherever I'm invited to, but I also have a book called I Don't Dwell. I was in a church in Erie, Pennsylvania last weekend. This weekend coming up, I'm in a church in Doylestown, Pennsylvania.
Ah, very good. So you're a traveling road show.
Yes. Yes.
I can relate.
And I can also entertain on the road show. I juggle. I'm the world's only known juggler.
Show us some juggling.
Can you show us some juggling?
Not right now. But I do have YouTube videos of me juggling. The only person in the world that has been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
Hey, awesome.
Because with MS, I had no coordination in the left hand. It's fully back. It's
nice, nice. So that is not multiple sclerosis.
Right.
I love that. Yeah, no, that's the whole thing. Eh? We can heal ourselves. And we heal ourselves by letting go of falsehood and just embracing truth. And truth is nothing more than love. And love is happiness.
Right.
Very true. So where in your so Stephen, on the focus category, where do you see yourself as the best parts of you coming out on the focus category? What has worked for you?
So what works for me is living at a high energy state. So living at love or above, as you like to say so appropriately. And when I'm focused on being at that level, then the doing is effortless. So you just be and you're in the flow and things are happening. Your creativity is there. Your productivity is there. Your ideas are flowing. It's just a beautiful way of operating. High energy living is awesome.
So when do you stick the afterburner on?
I kick the afterburner on whenever I get excited about what I'm doing, which is normally. Now, like sometimes I'm out running. I run fairly long distances, and sometimes when I'm out running, it's easy to get mindless, right? And then when I find myself in that condition, then I just start thinking about how happy I am, how lucky I am to have happiness working for me. And my body just picks up and it starts to move faster and faster. It's really cool.
Wow.
Woo-wee. Yeah. Happiness does work, and you can get happiness working for you, because happiness is an energy more than it's just a feeling. Like a pleasure is a feeling, and but this energy of real happiness, real love of life, love of being, love of doing, love of giving, love of connecting, is a real empowering energy. And it empowers for health, it empowers for productivity, it empowers for everything you want. It creates beautiful sleep. It creates creativity. It's amazing.
Yeah, life gets really interesting when you're always happy. It's really interesting how life just unfolds being happy.
Yes. When you want something, you just kind of follow your intuition and you take action wherever your intuition tells you to, and then it just kind of falls in your lap. It's amazing.
That's cool. Wow. So when you're laughing, the intuition it gets stronger.
Oh yeah. You don't have to be laughing for it to be, but when you're at high energy, laughing is a high energy, love is a high energy, happiness is a high energy. When you're at high energy, then you're asking questions, you're getting answers.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like, can anybody inspire you if they're sad?
That's a good question.
It's all the inspiration comes from this place of happiness, of joy, of bliss. That's how I really get through to people. I was at a Christian leadership conference and they all looked miserable. I was really surprised. Until I was just walking around happy.
We gotta keep our congregations, or we're getting smaller. And they don't understand that it's that energy that's creating that.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
You gotta go.
Yeah. Was he not laughing?
Just not the time. Not the time.
So there's a certain time for
Yeah, that's right. There is a time for some things and a time for some other things.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Wow. Very cool.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So one of the things we love. Go ahead.
What do you think it would take for someone to actually, get themselves focused can it happen instantaneously, or does it have to be over a period of time?
So I know people that have done it almost instantaneously, like like they worked on it for a while and then they had a moment of switch. Is that your case, Reverend?
Yeah, so it was just like a moment of switch. I was sitting in meditation one day and I heard a voice say perfect spirit. I'm like, that's it. My spirit is whole. It's simply the body and mind that are damaged. Then I simply knew that all was well. All sense of fear about my health just went away. And I was just in the state of bliss after this, of happiness and joy.
For me, it was more of a journey, though. So it can happen either way. I don't.
Because you let your thoughts govern your happiness, or you had to.
I guess it's probably the word that I took, the route that I took, because the route that I took was to, like, to make a happiness a priority for me. And then every time something made me feel unhappy, to go, okay, what just happened there? Let me heal that in me. And then I guess that's probably my decision to do it that way that made it into a journey. That's a good point. I had never had that insight before. Thank you for that question. Okay, so now I give up all of that. And I take it for all time. I let it all go. I embrace my inner perfection. Yay! Hey, there's Sam Shelley. I thought you were Sam Shelley. You are. Oh, so you have two different. Is that another? Do you see that in the chat? There's I am Sam Shelley.
That's me, yes.
Oh, that is you. Okay, you're also Rev.Sam J. Shelley. Is that your doppelganger?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, very good, very good. Okay, so let me see. What else do we want to talk about? What do you guys want to know about out there? Do you have any questions? Gilbertism. I think that a large part of the problem is we are taught that happiness is a state that comes about as a result of some action or actions. Why can't happiness simply be the default state, since in the moment we obviously have everything we need? Very good. Okay, I think that's a good question, and I think we can all take turns answering it. So first of all, I think we can have happiness as the default state. But I don't think we can keep happiness as the default state if we don't take action. Because we all have a purpose here, in my experience. And if we're conducting our purpose, then we are also taking action and balancing things and, nurturing ourselves and nurturing those around us. So I believe that lasting happiness is about growing ourselves as a person. And that requires action. But it also requires pleasure, it requires rest, it requires nutrition, hydration, connection, all of that other stuff. So when we're doing that stuff, in my experience, we have happiness as our real state. But when we're not doing that, then clutter is getting around us, and we are starting to feel less good about ourselves because we're not doing anything. And so I think that's what makes the happiness go away. Other points of view?
I have a little bit different take on this. I see our natural state is happiness. We don't have a problem or an issue or until we have a thought arises, making that a problem or an issue. I see that we're always happy, and these mental conditions can create pleasure based on that thoughts of pleasure. Like the conditions are met. then we have pleasure. I just say our state is happiness until we have that thought arise, creating a problem or an issue. That's the way I see it.
How do you relate that to taking action or not taking action? Like just sitting there being happy on top of your mountain, or taking action?
You take, like we were saying earlier, you take action when the intuitive impulse is there that you need to do something. But most of the time, it's really odd. The less we do, the more we have. Because the mind's always chasing these thoughts. And these thoughts are not creating lasting happiness. So we only take action when we really need to. When the intuitive voice says, hey, I'm hungry, let's go eat. Or something else is necessary. Usually we're chasing this huge to-do list in our head that doesn't bring happiness. If anything, it brings more grief.
Although I keep a pretty good list every day, but I don't call it a to-do list. I call it my new achievement list. And then every time I tick something off, I go, yes. And that keeps me very happy. But the other thing I noticed in some people around me and in me in the past is that people who, when people are avoiding work or avoiding doing something important, then they start to stress. And then they end up a lot more stressed.
Great point, Gilbert.
But I think that happens by living in the moment.
You know what? I really like that, because you know what? The Buddhists do say that, and I think it's really powerful, Gilbert, what you're saying there. It's really powerful. I'd like to really interject here. It's really powerful that the sun sets, and just observe it for what it is.
Yes, exactly. It's just being a sun. It doesn't actually set. The earth goes around.
That's right.
It's just being a sun.
Very powerful.
Yeah. So the sun is just being. Everything is just being except for humans, I think.
Oh, wow.
Well, the humans have those thoughts.
I think it's mammals, in fact.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, it's us that us as humans can focus.
Yes. Or not.
Animals don't necessarily focus unless they're going to eat.
Yeah. But Gilbert's point about being in the now is very powerful, because whenever you're not in the now, for most people are in the negative past. Concerning about the hurts and the labels and the unachievements and the things not done and that kind of stuff. And then there's a few people that are only in the future. And if you're in the future, like, I think the real trick is being in the present and in the future. So one eye here and one eye in the future. So you know where you're going, but you're engaged right now in getting there. And marching down the road. So having one eye on the now and being very present to what you're doing, and one eye on the future of where it is this doing is going toward.
True. Now, yeah, one eye. So that gives us. Some people would have a discrepancy because we should be present all the time, but that's where our goals come in. That makes sense? Our vision, our goal, our purpose.
Yeah, life gets really interesting when you just focus on this moment, this action that you can take right now, because the future is always down the road, way down the road. It's always, what can I do right here? Like Lao Tzu said, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with that single step. As long as we're taking that single step to our destination, whatever that may be, and just fully be with that action. There's people that are just too focused on the future, guessing, like getting a glass of water. They're not noticing all their steps to get that glass of water. and being an appreciation for
Exactly.
each step.
The
It's a
fact that
spell
they can
here
make
in each
yeah.
moment. So that's why I just keep myself here now, and I had no choice. The mind sort of left itself one day, and here I am.
That's awesome. Yeah,
I like it. It's getting very deep here, and I love that. See, here's some really good stuff here from Gilbert as well, right? At its core, to be here requires to not be somewhere else. And the first tool, therefore, is to pay attention to where your attention actually is, awareness. Ask yourself, where am I right now? Or simply, am I here? And make this simple but profound question a habit. Notice, too, where you go to check for the answer. The place you consult is also the destination, present itself. So obviously, Gilbert is very into Buddhism, and I think that's really great because he's making some awesomely good points here. And here's Austin saying, deep inside our soul, we're truly connected with nature, but we lost this through our curious mind. Well said, I think. Well said.
So we could have different focuses all through our life. Oh, let's focus on this. Let's focus on Blab for a couple of years and really do that,
yeah.
So you can have different.
But what everybody is pointing to here is where our focus is matters immensely.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Right.
I think having our focus on the present moment, we can all agree, is very useful, and letting our focus drift to wherever it wants to go, and believe me, it will. So letting that happen is what leads us away from happiness and down the road of inaction, down the road of self-doubt and unworthiness. Then training ourselves to become focused on what it is that's happening here right now is very important.
Yeah, I like to say that there's always the right action versus this distraction. The mind loves the distractions. It loves that instant gratification. That I need to go do this or that, but they don't actually focus doing the work of actually being here.
Yeah.
Because anytime you're engaging a thought, you're not in this moment because a thought isn't in this moment. It's always based on a past experience or guessing the future. A thought's rarely here in this moment. Like if you're looking at a table, it's actually not here in the moment because it's going through its data bank saying, oh, that's a table. Instead of experiencing a table by the physical touch. It gets really, we can get really deep in here. And I see that Gilbert talks about The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And my book is the same way. It's all about this moment. And that's what I talk about too in my book, I Don't Dwell, for anybody that's new, is dwelling was constantly digging up all this past experiences that I didn't like. So I kept myself there. The more I forced against the past, the stronger it got. So I was dwelling, like, this shouldn't be, this shouldn't be. It got worse and worse for me when I was allowing the moment to be as it is.
Hi.
It was beautiful.
Hey!
Gilbert is my last name. JS is actually my first name. So people.
Hello, JS. Welcome.
Thanks. I'm enjoying this immensely, and I'm a blabaholic, and I love Blab for the fact that 24/7 I seem to be able to have intelligent conversation. But more importantly, I like the fact that I am learning a lot every day from the wonderful givingness of this platform and the people that are in it. So thank you for this this topic. And
well, Gilbert, you've asked some very deep questions. So you've got some knowledge that the viewers really can use, and I really appreciate that.
oh, thank you. I pretend to be profound.
Don't we all?
Really, I think at the core, it's so simple. It's if you see on the internet, they have those the rules for kindergartners, you know, that they post, share, play nice, and all that kind of stuff. I work with businesses and corporations, essentially giving them those rules and charging them a lot of money for it. So
You did a great job.
if ever I mean, it's like I look at this and I say it's simple, but it's not easy. And
No.
unfortunately, I can process it at a level up here, but when it comes to internalizing it and really being in a place where there is happiness, I find that there's only one state that I can truly be happy, and that is where I feel as though my intention is mostly taken off myself and is on somebody else. And whereas the gospel of prosperity, which is what so many Americans have been practicing for the last couple of decades, and I think is driving the United States into the toilet, where I see that fails. I don't espound to be a Buddhist, but where can you find a better principle than the lessening of suffering of others? And that's what Buddhism is about. So what can I do on this planet? Maybe I contribute a little bit to the lessening of suffering of others. And in doing so, I contribute to my own lessening of suffering. So
what you do is you describe a lot of the stuff that you're going through that relates to the masses.
Well, I think so. I think we're all going through that stuff. I mean, we for example, listening. I find most people aren't very good listeners because they're concerned. Oh, am I hearing the right thing? Am I interpreting the information? Do I understand this person? Will they think I'm an idiot if I ask them to clarify something that they say? Or I am bursting. I need to say something, so I'm just waiting for that other person to finish or whatever. Just stop. Just listen.
Yeah. There's Jay Fouts commenting, well, listen to hear, not to plan your response. I like that too. And I think that's very good. So when we're with other people, but I find that I don't have to be with somebody else to be helping somebody else.
True.
So if I'm creating a new book, if I'm creating a new way to help people, if I'm planning or preparing to help people, I find all of that can make me feel good.
But again, I think intent there is to help somebody else. So it's taking the attention off of yourself.
Yeah. But I don't think you can consistently help other people well if you don't help yourself.
Oh, well.
I think the trick is at the beginning of the day to nurture, care for, nourish yourself, and then you become more and you can give more.
Right. And what I see for that, the main thing that I teach is love yourself first, then love your neighbor.
Yes.
Most of us ignore ourselves, that we're not taking care of ourselves. If we're not strong and healthy, then how can we really help another? It's all about the self-love for ourselves. I mean, you can tell a woman that she's beautiful. She'll remember for 5 minutes. You tell her clothes don't fit, she'll remember that for days. And that's what that mind is.
Good point.
It's a constant state of lack of mind. But the mind doesn't like to see the good. The mind loves to see lack. So it's all about training ourselves to see the good, as we were talking earlier. And I love what Dwayne Dwyer, his big thing was, the ego is edging God out. It's not seeing the good in things. And the ego loves that lack. So it's all about, for me, my teachings is just love yourself unconditionally. Yeah. When you see yourself in the morning, say, thank you, I'm alive, I'm here. Not looking at our clothes, not looking at our weight. All these types of self-criticism creates this stress.
Everything less than love
and all this stress
is untruth. And so anytime we're criticizing anything, there's no truth in that.
Right, absolutely.
I just say something about what Stephen said about taking care of yourself first. There's a reason on the airplane they say, put the mask on you before assisting others.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can't look after yourself if you're debilitated. And I think that happens so often in our society. It's people that are givers only give. and they see themselves as givers, and they're waiting for someone else to give back to them. But in the end, only we can give us what we need. And I think that's really poorly understood in our society. Hopefully, though, we're getting smarter.
Maybe not.
I think we are, actually. Like,
But I heard something.
A decade ago,
I heard something.
do you think we would have had 4 people come together to talk about this? It would have been rare, I think.
Yeah.
4 strangers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But look at us here, and look how many people are listening. We are getting better.
As a society, we are. Yeah.
Woo-hoo! We're getting better.
Well, it's interesting.
Yeah. As a society, we are getting better. We're not killing millions and millions of people like we did in the past 100 years ago. We are less violent. If you look at our history, we're not as violent as we were 100 years, 200 years ago. So these kind of discussions are making.
And while there is still war and bad stuff going on, it is statistically less now than it has been in history. The really confounding thing is that's all that the media reports. Yeah. Because everybody is attracted to it, right? Because of our historical conditioning. So we're always looking out for the trouble. So they feed us trouble because that keeps us glued to it. And they get their ratings and they get their money.
It's that mind preferring black.
It's that mind preferring black.
Yeah,
not
exactly. But we're like, I don't listen to the news. I call it the mess. But that doesn't mean if I go by somewhere and it's on there, or I walk by all the tabloids at the grocery store, my eyes aren't attracted to it, because they are. But I don't want to put my attention on that. I want to put my attention on the good. So it takes me an effort to keep myself in a way that I'm not bombarded by all that stuff every day.
If there is anybody out there, would you guys tweet a bird, please? It would really be appreciated.
That's a great idea.
What I marvel at is the people out there who are or appear to be essentially happy. They're able to deal with their personal situation in a world where they still are able to make a difference, a huge difference. And they're watching the news, and they're seeing atrocities, and they're seeing all kinds of problems. And just because the wars today are a little different than they were years ago doesn't mean that there aren't companies out there that are poisoning our water and our food supply.
Oh, yeah.
That's all true, too. Yep.
And I can still be a relatively happy person and have issue with the fact that the United States Supreme Court believes that corporations in this country have greater rights than individuals. That was recently decided. So, what the trick is, it's kind of like what Siddhartha did in his transformation to Buddha. There I go back being the non-Buddhist that I am. But, you don't have to grow up in a perfect world. If your view is that the world is a perfect world and you see everything, the prophecy was he was only to see beauty in his life. And of course, that's what drove him out of the palace gates and out into the real world, to see that there was suffering and there was pain and all that. Maybe I look at this a little bit differently and say there are different degrees of happiness that I can have. I also suffer from chronic pain, so that again brings up different degrees of happiness. So,
yes.
So how do you deal with that chronic pain? And like being able to mentally handle that?
Well, if my mind wants to focus on the pain, it will be an issue. If my mind doesn't want to focus on the pain, then in that moment, I seem to be able to have whatever tools I need to do most of what I need to do. I've also been able to work around it, and I function pretty well considering it's not super easy for me to get around and do a lot of things. So, instead of, right, what do they say? Instead, don't curse the darkness, light a match. And that's all I can do at this point. To that end, I mean, happiness, there's what I feel the devil to happiness is something that a lot of people refer to as hope. And hope keeps people from living in the moment, and hope keeps people from understanding their current circumstances and situations and the betterment they can do right now. So I tend to think there's a woman named Barbara Ehrenreich. She's written books called Blindsided and Nickel and Diamond and so forth. And people will routinely call her negative, but what I think she does is she does the sort of anti-spin on the prosperity gospel that people have been feeding or been getting fed all these years. So, again, to get back to something the Buddhist monk told me years ago, he said, happiness should be the default state. If you are in a room with no windows, no walls, no floor, and no ceiling and can be happy, then anything else that comes along will not disturb your happiness. I don't have a clue as to what that means, but I've been trying for many years to actually understand it. And it sounds good when I say it.
Well, do you think hope is at the bottom of the sea? I heard that phrase a lot.
Hope is at the bottom of the sea. Wow. People will constantly play around with words and things and semantics. So I'm not going to, I also hate the word passion, because passion's another thing we see going on today. People are so passionate, they will run over somebody else in the road to get to their destination and feel justified often by doing it. And passion, believe it or not, I have noticed is not actually considered a skill set. It is not a term that a lot of people search for when they're looking to hire people or have people do things. Where passion plays, if in business or in life, is not what's passion for me, but how is what I'm doing addressing the passion of a client or potential client or someone out there? How am I able to do that? And often what goes along with that is, how am I able to do that in a surprising or different way? But just how am I able to do that? So people don't really care about your passion. They care about theirs. And
exactly.
So put the attention on what their passion is, not yours. It's very different than what, again, a lot of the speakers talk about. I have a talk. I'm hoping to be able to do it at TED eventually, but it's called "Don't Trip Over Your Passion on Your Path to Success." And yeah, it's just, again, if you were thinking about life as a light switch, and the default is happiness. And then when you flip the switch, it's happiness. So either way, it doesn't have to matter what is going on or what is happening around you. You can be happy.
Totally agree.
It's like babies.
It doesn't matter what happens to me anymore. I don't care what happens to me, because I will deal with it through happiness.
I'm going to have to jump off in a couple of minutes. I have a standing obligation. But I am so glad that I came on here and had a chance to meet you all.
My honor. I mean,
it's been a pleasure. And just to let you know, the good Reverend and I were talking about this earlier. We're living pain-free. And I have helped other people do that if you want some help.
I'm certainly happy to talk to you about
yes.
that. A person in pain would be a fool to not look at any possible resource that was available to them. So, although, I'm human and I don't do everything or even close to everything that I could do probably to deal with my pain. But we're human beings, so.
There you go. We are.
Yeah.
And we make mistakes.
Yeah, that is the best way for humans to learn.
Yeah, and again, that's the lovely thing about a place like Blab is that I have a school available to me whenever I want it. It's so nice.
Very good. Very well said.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah, very good. And Robert, when you were mentioning hope, it brought up something I heard over the weekend I thought was pretty interesting. Hope brings us pleasure as we think about our future, regardless of our present circumstances.
Okay.
If we have hope, we have our thoughts about the future possibilities, regardless of our circumstances. That's what the hope is. That gives you the happiness, thinking that knowing and believing and just trusting.
Well, you know the story. I'll leave you with the story about the little kid whose parents were. He just seemed to be the eternal optimist, and his parents were very, very afraid because they thought once he got out into the real world, he would be taken advantage of. So they decided one year that he wanted a pony. You know this story? For Christmas.
No.
For Christmas. So they decided instead what they were going to do was they were going to take a big box and they were going to fill it up with manure and just put that under the tree so that he would be, he would get a taste of what it was like to not have something to be happy about.
We got you a pony, but it ran away.
So the next day, they're all opening up their beautiful presents and everything, and they asked their son to open up the present, and he opens it up, and there's manure in there, and he's giggling and laughing and playing and all that. And they're like, "We don't understand. We gave you a box of manure." And he says, "Well, it just means the pony must be close by."
You gotta love it.
Yeah. That's about the I think he's living in the moment. See, it's all how we look at hope, I'm sure that somewhere in the back of my mind, I have this hope often about, being pain-free and all that kind of stuff. But then those thoughts often turn into who I was at the age of 25, where I was climbing mountains and running and doing all that kind of stuff. And this real desire to be the better version of me when I was younger and so on and so forth. So hope can do that for you. And hope can, think of all the people out there that because of hope, they spend their rent money on buying lottery tickets because they're hoping they're going to win the lottery.
Yeah.
Yeah, hope is a tricky thing.
I think hope can be used or misused. Because another word for hope is optimism.
Yeah, well, like that kid.
Yeah, and that is really the gateway to all goodness. Because if you don't have hope, then you go down into the pit, the emotional pit. So hope is good that way, but hope without action is a problem, I think.
Mm-hmm. Right, because nothing's going to happen if you don't do anything.
If you have hope, then you must be prepared to take some new action.
It's a funny.
Right, that's the key. New action.
Here's a
new
funny
action is
thing.
the key. We keep.
I'm going to have to leave it a minute, but here's a funny thing. There was I'm in advertising. There was a research study that was done a few years back, and they asked individuals if they were to become millionaires, how did they think that would come about? And it was 75% or so said winning the lottery. Well, later on in that research paper, they asked people, how often do you buy lottery tickets? Almost never, once a week or whatever. And only 38% of those people actually bought lottery tickets. Wow. So it's very confusing how 75% of the people thought they might become millionaires by winning the lottery when only 38% bought lottery tickets. Talk about, not taking action and being unrealistic. So that's who we are. I wish I could stick around. I'm really enjoying this.
That's fine, Garrett. You know what? I really appreciate you coming on.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's been great. And there's ways to connect there on the chat. So
indeed.
I'd be happy to hear from you, JS.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Appreciate it.
All right.
Okay. Take care, everybody.
Okay. So it's 3 o'clock.
Good to hear from you.
So I think maybe it's time for us to laugh out anyway.
Well, tell them about your book.
Oh, that's a good idea. Hang on a sec.
So he has to leave and go get his book. Leave.
Yeah. Silly me, eh? Okay, so I have this book. It's called Happiness Works. Get yours here. It was the inspirational book of the year. It's got all kinds of great endorsements, but what's really good about it is the tools that are in it. It will give you the tools that you need to let go of your troubles and to connect with your purpose. So if you're interested in that, you can find it through the online sellers. It's easy enough to find. In fact, when we're done here, I'll write the ISBN number in there. And if that turns your crank, then that'll be good, and I'll be happy too.
So what are we talking about tomorrow?
Tomorrow. I knew that, and I forgot. So now I'm going to look it up, and I'll be deeper in a minute.
What do you think of that, Reverend?
Well, I didn't hear that. My dog's barking in the background.
Want to go dive in a little deeper, or take a different subject and focus?
I can talk about anything. That's the beauty of being in this moment. I can't explain it. Just this wisdom just comes through out of the silence of being in this moment. So I can engage people in any conversation. People ask me the weirdest question. I'll have absolutely no idea. I'll be still, and something will come.
Very good. How about health and happiness?
Okay, so what I wanted to talk about tomorrow was life. Life and happiness.
Sounds real good.
Sounds good.
So let's laugh it out, guys.
Yoo-hoo!
All right.
Life and happiness.
Have an awesome day.
All right, everybody.
Big guy.
Take care. Stay well. Have fun. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.